I made her favorite, poached salmon with lemon butter, roasted carrots, and a peach tart from scratch. I even dug out the old floral linen, the one with the frayed edges she'd scold me about, but secretly adored. It was Vera's 64th birthday. I told myself this year might be different, not happier, but calmer. The table was set for 6, Vera at the head, her bridge partner June, our cousin Lorie, and 2 neighbors who'd known me since I was a teenager. I poured the wine, smiled over plates. For a while, I almost believed this could pass for love. Then Vera raised her glass. To aging without baggage, she said, swirling the wine, and to finally living free of dead weight. Her eyes met mine. Honestly, Marin, the best gift you could give me is to leave my life. Silence. June coughed. Lorie's fork hovered midair. I blinked at Vera, once, twice, and didn't ask her to repeat it. I stood, excused myself with a smile that wasn't mine, and walked to the kitchen. Cool water numbed my hands. I took my coat and left without goodbye. That night I sat in my own dim kitchen, coat still on. The tart was untouched. The sink held half-rinsed glasses, wine-stained. I thought of her at the table, back straight, eyes smug, and wondered if she'd rehearsed those words. Maybe not. Maybe cruelty had become instinct. I remembered all the birthdays before this, hand-sewn gifts, candlelit porches, decades of trying to earn something she never intended to give. I slid the tart into the fridge, left the dishes, and went to bed with her words echoing in the dark. Morning came. I opened my journal to a blank page and held the pen suspended, as if waiting for permission. Memories crowded in. At 26, I'd dropped out of grad school when Vera fractured her hip. "You're all I have," she'd said over the phone, voice thin but commanding. I told my professor I wouldn't finish the semester. He urged me to take a leave. I nodded. I never went back. I moved into her house temporarily. Years blurred into errands, medication, and a quiet job at the library. I dated without committing. Whenever someone asked about my own future, I changed the subject. I let her repaint the hallway I loved, replace the kitchen tiles with cold gray squares. I said nothing when she threw out the first chair I'd ever bought. I agreed to every small erasure. It was our rhythm, she asked. I adjusted. But in the stillness of that morning, I saw it clearly. It wasn't devotion. It was disappearance. I wrote a single sentence. I gave up so much, trying not to let her feel alone. But I never asked if I was allowed to want more than surviving her. I folded the page, tucked it away, and went to find my bank statements. That night, I didn't sleep. My mind replayed every moment I'd stayed silent, every line I'd failed to draw. The next morning, I wrote the truth as if it had been waiting years to be said. I had been edited out of my own life. I underlined it once, and began. I listed everything Vera could touch, joint accounts, the house deed, passwords scribbled on the kitchen notepad. I circled what to change first. I booked an appointment at the bank, searched for lawyers, and found one in a small town 2 hours away, Tomas Reyes. Firm name, no flash. I told no one, not Lorie, not the neighbors, certainly not Vera. This wasn't revenge. It was air after a decade of holding my breath. That afternoon, I studied the house, not with sentiment, but with precision. What was mine? What had been taken? My gaze fell on the old maple desk, the last thing my father touched before he died. I opened the drawer. The envelope of emergency cash was gone. The next day, I drove to see the lawyer. Vera noticed eventually. I stopped reminding her of appointments. I let the silences stay silent. I cooked for myself in the small pan. And for the first time in years, the air in my lungs felt like it belonged to me. She started hovering again, half-sincere smiles, offhand comments about my clothes as if trying to sound maternal. One morning, she tapped at my door with a tray of burnt toast and bitter tea. "I figured you'd be tired," she said softly. "We haven't talked much since." Her hand flicked vaguely, pretending not to remember the words she'd carved into my chest. "You mean your birthday?" I asked. She blinked. "That. Oh, come on, Marin. It was a joke. I was tipsy. People say things." I nodded but kept the door shut. Later that week, I sat across from the bank manager. As she scrolled through my account history, her face shifted. "Someone's been transferring small amounts to another checking account, over 6,000 this past year." I didn't answer. I didn't have to. That evening, I found Vera folding towels. "I saw the withdrawals," I said. She straightened. "What withdrawals?" "My account, thousands, without asking." Vera sighed. "It was for things we needed, repairs, prescriptions, your car. You always said we're in this together." "God, Marin, You're so selfish. I stared. Selfish? Yes, you act like you're owed something just for living here. I walked past her without another word, up to my room, locking the door, not from fear, but to make the boundary clear without explanation. The next morning, a plain envelope waited in the mailbox, no return address, but I recognized the handwriting, Mrs. Darnell, 2 doors down. Dear Marin, I don't want to intrude, but I've seen what you've carried. You are not invisible, and you are not wrong. With quiet admiration. Elaine Darnell. I read it 3 times. My eyes stung, not from pain, but from the rare comfort of being seen without asking. I tucked it into my journal, beside the page I'd written after the birthday. That night, I made dinner for one. Vera didn't ask to share. I looked up notaries near the county clerk's office. Tomas Reyes had already taken my call. The next step was signatures. The following morning, I drove to his office. The air smelled faintly of cedar. His voice was steady. You don't need a war, he said. You need a boundary that holds. We spent an hour signing, freezing accounts, updating the deed, revising my will. At the last form, I hesitated only briefly before my name met the page. By the time I got home, rain had started. Vera was in the kitchen, crossword in hand. You've been distant, she said sharply, secretive. I don't like it. I went upstairs without a word. The storm came through my phone, Rachel's voicemail. Your mom says you're freezing her out. That's cruel. Neighbor's passive texts. Lorie's blunt. I can't believe you do this after everything she's done for you. I turned the phone face down. Downstairs, cabinets slammed, drawers yanked open. Vera's footsteps grew heavy, deliberate, like she could pound her grievance through the floor. I wrote in my journal, I am not punishing her. I am reclaiming what is mine. The next morning, she banged on my door. You've made your point, now undo it. It's not a game, I said. There's nothing to undo. You'll regret this. Maybe, but at least the regret will be mine. 2 days later, a notarized notice arrived. By week's end, she was gone. I heard her dragging luggage before sunrise, muttering into the phone. A car idled outside, then the front door slammed. I waited an hour before going downstairs. A few picture frames missing, drawers left open, but the bones of the house were intact. My house, my name on the deed, uncontested. The quiet filled the rooms, but for once it didn't accuse. It breathed, it gave space. I started small. The wildflower painting I'd hidden 5 years ago went back above the fireplace. I swapped the hallway bulbs for warm light. I pulled my grandmother's quilt from the attic, the blue and green stitching soft under my palms, and draped it over the couch. Then I opened every window, letting the air sweep through until her scent was gone. That evening, I found an old tea tin pushed to the back of the cupboard, the one Vera once called clutter. I brewed a cup and sat on the porch, legs tucked under me, watching the sun drop behind the trees. I thought I might cry, but didn't. It wasn't relief or triumph. It was something else, something like return. That night, I slept with the door open. The next morning, I registered for an art class at the community center. The room smelled faintly of pencil shavings and turpentine. No one asked why I was there. No one asked my last name. We're not here to be good, the instructor, Callie, said. We're here to begin. I hadn't drawn since I was 22. The first lines were hesitant, but by the second class I wasn't drawing to be seen. I was drawing because it felt like breathing again. No one in that room knew about Vera, the bank accounts, or the birthday toast that split me open. They only knew the way I shaded light and smudged with my thumb, the way I laughed, quietly surprised, when someone made a joke. It was enough. Each week, I came home with charcoal under my nails and a stillness I didn't explain. I painted the bathroom sage, moved the lamp to the other side of the couch, filled frames with my sketches, hands, trees, a single daisy. One afternoon, I caught myself humming while cooking. It startled me. I hadn't filled space with sound in years. That evening, I wrote in my journal, I'm not building a new life. I'm remembering the one I left behind. Then the phone rang. Marin, her voice rasped, thin but familiar. It's me. The doctors found something. I thought you should know. The kids ask about you. We all do. It was the we that caught. I'm sorry, she said. I said things I didn't mean. The house doesn't feel right without you. I'm glad the kids are well, I said, and I hope you're getting care. So, can we talk? Maybe come by? I closed my eyes. I can't go back to being small so you can feel big. A sharp breath. So that's it? That's it. She hung up. I didn't cry. I just sat, breathing. The quiet no longer felt like punishment. The next morning, I went into the garden with lavender seedlings and sage seeds. The soil was dry but welcoming. I worked slowly, spacing each plant with care. By the time I straightened, the sun was low, the breeze moving through the branches. Then came the knock. 2 girls stood at my steps, maybe 7 or 8. One held a basket lined with a towel. "These are from my mom," the taller said. The younger added, "She says your garden makes her feel brave." I blinked. "Tell her thank you." They ran off laughing, ribbons of sound trailing behind them. I set the basket, still warm with cinnamon apple muffins, on the kitchen table and let the quiet widen. Later, I lit a candle and wrote. I thought disappearing would break me, but maybe I was never meant to be seen by them. Maybe I was meant to see myself. The candlelight haloed the page. I turned to a fresh sheet and began to